Hello, Peach-on here. So I've had this idea kicking in the back of my mind that really sprung up on me from listening to a song on the radio. But the problem with this story is I would have to do research because my memories of Undertale and the events that happened are very fuzzy. And I'm not quite sure that I understood everything because when I was playing, I wasn't playing while scrutinizing every single detail. I was just playing the game. I was consuming it. I wasn't looking for every single secret that was out there. And whenever I was tired, I wasn't paying attention. So whatever thoughts I have, they're not going to hold up to Undertale Deltarune fanbase standards. I don't know all the lore, I don't know all the secrets, I don't know details that most other people would know just by existing in the fandom space. So I would definitely have to do a lot of research. And as I figured out, I wanted to jot this idea down before I did any research, if I was ever going to do any research. This is me pretty much recording the preliminaries before research right now. I did something absolutely ridiculously crazy, and I just started doing like a storyboard. I had these itty bitty, tiny, like 1.5 inch boxes, just like a whole bunch of those, a whole 8x8 container of these tiny boxes, and I was just going to scribble just like what I thought was going to be stick figures. Oh god, I wish I had done stick figures. But that was the idea in my head, so I was just going to do it simple, nothing really matters, it doesn't matter if the art is crappy, just jot down the idea, whatever you can fit in the boxes, we're gonna roll with it, just so I can kind of get the feeling of the characterization I had, what the plot was generally going to be, because once I start writing, everything changes. I will completely derail my whole story just because I like the alliteration of this one sentence, but now that sentence is canon, so I have to keep that in mind for the rest of the story, and so like there'll be wildly different endings because I worded something a particular way. And of course, if I have any feedback, if I do any research, this is all going to completely change. If I realize that something shouldn't be said or done, it will completely change. I will definitely censor myself. That's just how it is. So this is pretty much the rawest, and here's the thing, I did not realize that I don't know what these characters look like. I'm sitting here, one, I don't have any art experience, I have no experience with art. I'm new to fandom. I'm new to drawing, so all of my drawings look like crap, and I didn't realize that I don't know how to draw, like, almost anything, because I have no experience, like, looking at something and being like, oh yes, still life, this is what this looks like. So, not only do I have, like, basic backgrounds and, stupid objects, that I have no idea what they actually look like. These characters, I don't know what these characters look like. So I'm sitting here, I don't have, like, imagination where I can picture things in my head, so I'm sitting there trying my best to remember what they look like. So they are all extremely off model. Like one of the first frames is Flowey, but I don't remember what Flowey looks like. I know that it's like a generic flower, but and I know that there is some stuff with vines. He does some stuff with vines at the end of Undertale, but I don't remember like if he had stems or leaves or anything like that. And like one of the first panels I drew, it was Flowey, and I drew him with leaves. I'm like, wait, this doesn't look right. So I'm kind of figuring it out as I go. Does he have 5 petals? Does he have 6 petals? I think that there's like 6 petals with like the separation is in the top, but I do not know. I have no idea. So I am figuring this all out as I'm going. I don't know what anything looks like. I don't have anything in my head. I don't know how to do consistent art style or any of this stuff. I'm using a fucking pencil, and I don't even know how to use the fucking pencil. I'm sitting here trying to figure out how do you use a pencil to sketch shit and shading. I don't know how to do any of that. I don't know any of this. So this is extremely experimental, like the most basic, so please treat me like a baby, because that's pretty much what I am. I'm new and inexperienced to this, and I don't know what anything looks like, and I don't know how to and that's another thing. I tried to do these little boxes, very limited space, very quickly. So like 1 minute, 2 minutes tops on each one, because there's so many boxes. There are 64 boxes, which I didn't even realize when I was drawing out these boxes. I'm just like, okay, eight across, and then you gotta make it a square. So 8 columns, 8 rows, that's 64, baby. I didn't even realize. So I filled up all 64, to my own surprise, and that's not even really halfway through the story. I would say that's about like where the story really starts getting going. But yeah, let's just say that 64 mark is halfway, and I really didn't understand pacing either, because I'm sitting there trying to put every little detail in these boxes like it's an AMV or something, and by the time I got to like the first transition, I'm like, no, screw it, we are not going to put all these details in there. So then I have these brief overviews of things that are going to happen, just like little snapshots. There's one panel, and that's how the day went, and then there's another panel, that's how the night went, and there's another panel, that's the morning. So, the pacing is all off. Lots of details that I didn't put, especially towards the end. I kind of just like, okay, here are the story beats, which is what I should have done from the beginning, but I didn't know what I was doing. Obviously, I've never done this before. This is my first time doing it. So, that's pretty much what happened, is I had this idea in my head because I heard a song on the radio, couldn't get that idea out of my head. Okay, I think that's enough preamble. Let me just go ahead and embarrass myself. So we start out, Burgerpants is kneeling by this grave, and we know from Undertale and Deltarune a little bit how we have a good idea of the ritual of grieving a loved one, what that entails, and it's very Christian adjacent from pop culture. We can figure out what this is like. It's pretty much a stand-in for monster culture, and what monsters do with their dead ones is once their loved one turns to dust, they put that dust on that monster's most beloved item, bury the item, and mark it with a headstone. Or at least that's how I seem to recall this process going. So that's why we have Burgerpants sitting at the foot of this headstone. The barrier has been broken, and all of monster kind is going to the surface, so Burgerpants starts off this story giving his last goodbyes to this family member that is on the tombstone. And that is the tone of this. This tone is a finality. He's talking to this person with familiarity. He's talking about how he's not going to come back here. This is the last time. He's talking about how this person affected his life. And then we ramp up the emotions, but we quickly see that emotion is anger. He does not like the person that he's talking to. He literally curses them. And we see that through his language. He gets very vitriolic and spiteful, and we can feel that hate radiate out of him. And the more he talks, the more he expresses this. I have a really bad panel here of Flowey overhearing this guy cursing. Please don't look at it too much. I don't know what Flowey looks like. This is my first time ever attempting to draw him, so look. And then I'm gonna go to the next frame. Burgerpants is absolutely cursing this guy out, absolutely cursing his name. This is Burgerpants' father, and we learn through what Burgerpants says in all of his strong language that Burgerpants' father was a bit abusive. Anyway, we learn that his father was actually quite abusive to him and his mother. And the item that was sprinkled with dust was alcohol, showing just how much he didn't really value anything other than his time drinking. I don't remember if I go exactly into what Burgerpants' dad did, but we know Mom's not around, and we know Dad died after Mom. So Burgerpants was pretty much left alone in this world, taking care of himself, and that's pretty much the reason why he's in that dead-end job that he's in. I don't know if I get into that either, about, at this point, no. At this point, I would not reveal why he, wants to become a star, why he's, so enamored with making it big. For right now, all we know is that, Burgerpants is very spiteful and wants to live it up to show his dad that his dad won't ruin his life. He won't let this ruin who he's going to become. He is going to live it up in spite of this person who tried to ruin his life. And that's, again, where all the strong language comes from. And in the middle of this speech about how he's going to make it big, about how he's not going to let this person control his life anymore, he defaces the grave. And that's when he hears somebody approaching behind him, and he wonders who it. I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't know. I don't know what any of these characters look like. Please forgive me. Holy shit! Don't look too closely at this art, please. But that's when somebody approaches and distracts Burgerpants. And I don't know if I was going to have, because I do have a little bit of Flowey perspective after this. I don't know if I have Flowey perspective here or if I just did this for the panels. I don't think I'll even know until I start writing that. The perspective just kind of gets hammered into place where I feel like the flow needs to change. So it's probably not going to flip-flop between perspectives like this. I'm probably going to wait until the transition period later to start talking about Flowey's perception of what's happening. What we do know is that a friend comes up and starts talking to Burgerpants. Why is Burgerpants down here? Everybody else has pretty much left, and he's the last one remaining, and this friend is very caring, doesn't want Burgerpants to stay behind. And Burgerpants just had this emotional moment, spilling his guts, still kind of feels a little bit hyped up, from all the adrenaline, from the hate. It was palpable detestment. So he's still kind of a little riled up and a little bit not quite his laid back self. And we see that through this interaction. Oh god. Bluebeard is trying to make the case that he should quickly come get acclimated because there's a lot going on the surface. And he really doesn't want his friend staying down here because Burgerpants kind of has this habit, right, of staying behind and going through the motions. But Burgerpants isn't the kind to like to be told what to do. So instead of explaining the situation of what he's doing, he gets a little bit defensive and it's like, I don't need you controlling my life, pretty much. Because to Burgerpants, they're not, like, close friends. This is just somebody that he uses for food, for ice cream, basically. He can get free stuff out of this guy, so he associates with him a little bit, using him. But Bluebeard does not know boundaries and cannot read the room at all. Pretty much goes on his own instincts. He wants his best friend slash love interest. Yes, I do realize that there is a little bit of something there. To go to the surface with them. He wants he wants this all to work out. We will figure out in a little while. There's a little bit of a change in society, how things are going to work out on the surface than they did underground, because underground is already established and has been established for at least 100 years. I can say that for certain. At least, I mean, I would say even hundreds of years, the underground has been established. The surface is not established right now, and pretty much all monsters have a role. Things are going to be completely different, and Bluebeard wants his best friend to pretty much get in with him. You know, he wants Burgerpants to live in the same apartment complex and pretty much work with him and all that stuff. So he's going to try to put in a good word for Burgerpants, and so he personally comes to get Burgerpants and bring him to the surface. Burgerpants does not want to be told what to do right now, or how to do it, and this is a very sensitive moment. He doesn't want to let Bluebeard in on what he's doing. Oh yeah, and then I have a little bit of a Flowey being interested in what the fuck is going on. I think I get into Flowey's perspective a little bit later, but pretty much everyone had left the underground. Flowey, still feeling tremendous guilt over what happened, knows that he's going to revert back into his soulless state where he feels the ennui of everyday life. He doesn't feel feelings again. This horrible, miserable existence where he can't control his personality. He can't feel anything for anyone anymore. Like this horrible, depressive state. He's already changed back into a flower, so he knows that this is going on. There's no way that he could go to the surface, thinking that he's going to be the only one in the underground, and it's for the best, it's for everyone's protection that they stay separated, because Flowey knows what happens when he's in that emotionless state and what the boredom can do to him. But then he starts hearing this cursing, and he gets curious about that. Like, who is the monster that is using this horrible language, this such vitriol, such fury? So that piques his interest a little bit. So, of course, bored person, this is gossip. This is an interesting thing. And then he's listening to Burgerpants and Blueear's conversation. Blueear is trying to bring him up to the surface, and Burgerpants being very, very defensive right now. Do I even want to talk about this? So, in this fic, this will probably change because I realize how bad it is right now. But, I kind of had this pun thing in my head, just a brief thought about, a cat's got your tongue, and when somebody is sassing to Burgerpants or saying something that, Burgerpants doesn't want to hear, he will, like, pull their tongue, kind of like a Tom and Jerry-esque kind of thing, to get them to stop talking. So that's what he does here. Don't look at the art. Don't look at it. Next slide. And, this shows just how pissed off Burgerpants is. Sobbing wet meow meow. Burgerpants here. I don't know. Some of these proportions. Again. Oh god, this is roadkill Burgerpants. Anyway, this frazzles, Blueears. I keep wanting to call him Nice Cream Guy, because that's what he's called in Undertale, so I don't know whether to call him Blueears or Nice Cream Guy, and I keep tripping up over that. But, yeah. Burgerpants is completely frustrated, doesn't want to deal with him, pretty much, he was interrupted, he has nothing more to say, he's going to take his suitcase, which he brought with him here, and go. He didn't tell Blueears that, but that's what pretty much happened. It's pretty much a sign. He got interrupted in the middle of his little speech, so he's just going to take his suitcase and go with Blueears. But he's very frustrated, so he's not telling Blueears of his intentions. And Blueears is also, pretty frazzled right now, because, Burgerpants got really close up to him, and he wasn't sure what was going on. So that does not help the situation. He is even more determined to bring his best friend with him. And get a little bit more interaction with him. So, Burgerpants turns around and sees this grave, right? The one that he just defaced, and all of a sudden, there is a flower there, which he did not put there, and he doesn't think too much about it. He just knows that he does not want this grave to be left with a flower on it, because now Blueear sees the situation, and pieces together that Burgerpants came to visit a grave and left flowers on it, which pisses him off. Burgerpants has no good feelings for his father, and does not want this to seem like a gesture of kindness, so of course what he immediately does is pick off that flower. And so he has this flower in hand, and he turns around, and Blueears sees the flower in hand, held out, and there's a moment between them. Nobody says anything, but there's kind of just like this moment between them where Blueears doesn't know if the flower is being offered to him or not. So the first thing that Burgerpants thinks to do is eat the flower. Okay, so you understand why this sums up right here why I need to do research. I don't know what anybody looks like, and also I don't know if this is a thing that is even viable to happen. This feels like a shitpost, but that's just the first idea that came into mind. Let's get off of this panel. And Flowey was not expecting this at all. So Flowey is holding on for dear life, trying not to be swallowed by this monster, debating what he should even do at this point. And Burgerpants fucking chokes. He chokes on Flowey, and he's not like biting or crushing or anything. He just immediately swallows it down. So Burgerpants wanted this situation, and he's very proud of himself for getting himself out of that choking fit without Blueears' intervention. But Flowey is not having a good time right now. I just realized how much of a shitpost this is. I'm sorry, y'all. And so Flowey does. The only thing that he can think to do at this moment, abandon that physical form. So that's exactly what he does. He abandons the flower form and strips down basically to his essence, which is represented right here by these little bubbles. That is pretty much what I use for chi. These little circles, because it's very easy to draw in less than 60 seconds. And we see that that essence attaches onto Burgerpants' off-center skewed soul. Because I didn't realize things are a little bit different when you're drawing with like an actual pencil than they are with a mouse. With a mouse, your hand is flat. When you're holding a pencil, it's at an angle. So I want to draw everything at an angle. So everything's like skewed and the proportions are weird. And it's like I don't have very much experience drawing with a mouse either. Don't let me fool you. But a pencil is completely something different. That I mean, okay, I like that. I figured out pretty quickly that you can do quick, short strokes and then it kind of is a different color. And, you know, you can have things going different ways and you don't have to erase. And that's one of the things I really like about that. Nothing is clean, but I don't have to erase shit. So everything can kind of blend all into each other and it's alright. It's alright. It's not that bad. Anyway, so Flowey's essence attaches to Burgerpants' soul and that's how the device of this story starts. This is my first, obviously shitposty idea of how this situation comes to be. So Blue Ears takes Burgerpants out of the underground. He gives his last little looks through and reminisces a little bit about this place, but ultimately he's moving on to bigger and better things, and he can't wait to show the world what he can do. But, you know, the mood kind of dampens because Blue Ears is there pretty much chatting him up. And this is not somebody that he really likes talking to. They clash. They are completely opposite personalities, and Blue Ears is a bit of a drain on Burgerpants, but he goes with him, suitcase in hand, to the outside world. And they take a look around at the scenery, and Blue Ears is all excited and can't wait for everything that's going to happen, and Burgerpants gets a little bit overwhelmed. Like, oh shit, this is definitely going to be a change in lifestyle. And we see that's one of the struggles that Burgerpants goes through in here is that change in lifestyle, because everything was pretty much regulated in the underground. Everybody had their purpose. And then we finally cut to Flowey, or maybe not, because I had a lot of stuff earlier going on with Flowey, so maybe not, maybe this is not where the first instance of Flowey comes. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to, like, have the camera, which is the narrator, follow Burgerpants, or if it's just going to be, like, a wide-angle shot, like, pretty much everybody's thoughts get into the narration. I don't even know what it's called, but, pretty much, I'll have to figure that out as I'm writing. But, for right now, I'm pretty much going through Flowey's version of the story. And yes, he's still represented by the flower in these little panels, even though he does not have this physical form right now. He is just a essence that is attached to a soul right now. And yes, attached to a soul. So that is going to play a big part, but we're not getting into that yet. Flowey's just essence, and thinking back on his own story about how he used to be this happy kid in the underground, or at least he was outwardly happy. He had a family, he had a home, but ultimately he wasn't really satisfied. He felt this deep loneliness that nobody else really got, and he kind of had this caged lifestyle where he felt like he was trapped. So he has this loneliness and feeling trapped and wanting better things for himself. And he did kind of get a companion there. He started to see the bright side of life for a little while there, but that was taken away from him way too fast. A blink of an eye and it was all over. And he was put into this situation where even though he was dead, he was brought back to life, but in that life, he had no feelings. He went from feeling these deep sorrows and these regrets of his life to not being able to feel anything at all, which led to the events of Undertale and him going pretty much batshit insane, killing everyone, pretty much becoming the villain of this story. And when Frisk ultimately decides to save him, when he realizes that he can feel emotions again, due to, that's why I brought this back in here, to talk about how soul impacts Asriel, he becomes a person again, and he can feel emotions again, and he realizes the gravity of what he's done and how he's hurt the ones that he loved, the ones that he wanted to protect, the ones that he wanted to care for. He became the exact opposite of the person that he wanted to be, and he feels this immense guilt over what he's done, and has decided to sacrifice himself to the underground, to become the guardian of the ruins, to watch over this place. which is very significant for him. This is the place where the human, his one companion in life, had fallen. So he's going to stay behind in the underground, even though the surface is now accessible. But obviously this isn't like a faraway place. This is right in front of Toriel's house. And Toriel remembers the flower. I mean, how can you forget? And she tries to bring that with her. And Flowey ultimately decides to hide. He doesn't want to face everybody again, especially after full knowledge of everything that he's done. He feels immense guilt over this. He's pretty much traumatized over the things that he's done to the people that he loves. So that's kind of what gets him out of that spot, and he watches pretty much everybody leave and go off to bigger, better things. And he has this moment where he's a little bit bitter about that. He feels like he never got to live his life, even though he's lived for over 100 years. He feels like he never got a real shot at life. So we have this moment of contemplation where he wants to go. He wants to go to the outside world and interact with people, but things won't be the same. Obviously, he has hurt these people, and they are rightfully in the position to reject him, and he does not want to face that rejection. So ultimately, he does the noble, in his mind, thing to go back to the ruins and guard there, to separate himself from everyone else when he ultimately doesn't feel feelings anymore. Because he feels this way right now, but he's not always going to be able to empathize with people, and he's going to get bored again, and he's most likely going to go back into that cycle. So on his way back to the ruins, that's when he hears Burgerpants cursing up a storm that not many people in the underground tend to have. So this is just like a thing that catches him off guard, and he's not sure even if this person is speaking to him. But then, like I said, it becomes an interesting situation, and, Flowey doesn't want to be bored, so he's going to nose into the business, and he's interested in what happens, which, leads us to those events that happened. And that's when we come back around to the city and what happened in the city. There are humans, obviously, in this society, in this world, but not in the place around the underground. We learn that the humans have been very infrequent because humans don't live around this mountain area anymore. There isn't that village anymore because a catastrophe happened in that area and it's been condemned, as we can see a little bit hinted on by the sign. It's pretty much a wasteland in that area. And that's when we have our class system come back into play. This area needs to be rebuilt for habitation. So we have structure, but we need to get debris off the ground. We need to get electricity back up and running. We need to clean out apartments and motels and fix up vehicles and fix up office buildings. Everything pretty much needs to be repaired because everything is in a state of disarray. Even water and crops need to be dealt with. So we know that monsters have magic in the underground, and that is the system that I'm bringing into play here, is the system of elements, and I had this all charted out for let that sink in. I'm pretty much going to go with the same old thing. Everybody has one or two basic elements, and have these abilities. So pretty much you have your magic, and you have your actions. Everybody has like their little skill, and that's pretty much what determines your lifestyle on the surface, is what you can contribute to society. So yeah, it's a little bit different than the underground, especially since there's so much more to do here. The underground was already established and up and running. Here, everybody needs to pitch in. If you're an elemental, and Burgerpants is an earth elemental, which is pretty much the most pointless elemental that he could possibly be. So he is going to have to find out what to do other than elemental help, which is service, which is what he's used to. He's used to a service job. He actually would like to put his foot into the entertainment world, but that's a far-off dream right now. There's not much in the way of entertainment when you're just looking for your basic necessities. So Burgerpants is put into this little motel room, and he has his own little room all to himself. It's not that bad. Basic necessities, I don't 100% know for sure, but that's kind of what I pictured here. There's like a little stand, maybe a TV, maybe not a TV, because, you know, electricity is scarce, so probably not a TV. That would just waste, electricity. But we have a little bit of means for him, to live on his own. He has a microwave, he has a fridge, that's just basic, like, food necessities, if monsters even need to eat. I'm not sure if that's just even, like, a habit thing, like, rich monsters eat, because we know that their food is magic. It's not physical food. So I need to research and see if food is just, a hobby and not a necessity, because it might be a hobby, kind of like cigarettes. We know for sure Burgerpants has that, hobby. He has that habit. Cigarettes are one of his habits. And in this, I don't have him drinking because of the alcoholic father. But he definitely smokes. It's a bit of a stress reliever. Anyway, so whatever this room has, it's very basic necessities. For sure, he has a mattress on the floor. He has blankets, a pillow, a change of pajamas in the back, and, a mirror on the wall. And Burgerpants is not taking this change very well. His first night in this apartment, all by himself, he's very distraught and sad, and things are different, and he doesn't know what he's going to do, or how he's going to make a future for himself, and he has to reestablish himself in this society, but he doesn't really have very many friends. Like, the only person who thought to come check up on him was the fucking ice cream guy, which he isn't really even that close to, so he's just debating his future. And even though he, came out into the surface thinking that he was going to make himself a big shot, his realities have come crashing down on him, and he's starting to let that sink in. So he is not having a good time. He starts crying a little bit, you know, like, not like massive tears or anything, but it really affects him emotionally. And, you know, this affects him emotionally, so that kind of taps into Flowey, who is a part of his soul right now, his essence, and Flowey is absolutely criticizing him. What the fuck is wrong with you? You're completely taken care of. You've got this nice room all to yourself. You're finally on the surface. You're just this big spoiled brat. Of course, Flowey is projecting. Flowey himself was the spoiled brat not even a couple panels ago. But that is the mood right now. We have an odd couple situation. Flowey is not really, digging his host right now. He is not into this host, and he pretty much gives him an earful, which kind of translates to what happens in the morning when Burgerpants sees his reflection in the mirror, and he starts giving himself an earful, just like he had with his father, talking to himself with such vitriol, with such hate about who he is and what he's become, and how he needs to get with it or get left behind. Now, more than ever, he needs to make it. He needs to make something of himself. And again, we see that strong emotions kind of trigger this essence, which is Flowey. So Flowey starts, I'm just gonna say, starts nurturing himself off of this soul. So Burgerpants and Blue Ears go trying to get his old job back, customer service, with his old boss, which is Metaton, but Metaton is having none of that. Metaton is completely leaning into his own thing, and he has no time or care or patience for Burgerpants, does not give two shits about Burgerpants. And of course Blue Ears is trying to soften things up, but things don't work out. Burgerpants is completely and utterly rejected here. So Blue Ears has his own little business. The Ice Elemental still makes an ice cream, and so he decides to let Burgerpants work as a vendor for a little while. But this doesn't really work for Burgerpants. There's the sun, direct contact with the sun, which we are not very used to, and the ice cream's melting. And he's not like the most physically fit person to begin with. He's really an inside person, an outside person. So this is not the best job for him at all. This isn't going to work out for the long run, especially since Blue Ears is kind of taking a cut in helping his friend out here. So we see Burgerpants go through that dilemma, and Flowey kind of has his own little dilemma happening right now, and thinking about this host body, just debating how he feels about this person. We've seen Burgerpants go through a lot, and we kind of get snapshots of what Flowey is feeling, but I kind of compiled it all into this one snapshot, and about how Flowey is pretty much nurturing himself out this soul, how Burgerpants is getting a little bit physically weaker than he was in the underground, not just because of the weather and everything, but also because he is harboring this parasite, pretty much. Flowey is taking from Burgerpants' soul, which is causing a little bit of damage. So, Flowey has a lot to think about and contend with. I don't think he gets into the meat of it in this panel, though. I think I saved that for a little bit later. But, Flowey definitely starts becoming a character again, with thoughts and feelings and emotions, and we kind of see that in this panel, where he's thinking about his host. Burgerpants comes home and just fucking crashes. He does not like this new life. He does not like everything that's become. He doesn't have a place here. He wants to go back home, quote-unquote home, but there's nothing at home. There's nothing for him there. There's literally nothing in the underground. This is just the new life, and he has to get used to it. And, he does this little routine. He goes to bed. He's sad. He's not sure what he's going to do, what he can even do tomorrow. And he gets up and he kind of chastises himself. But then Flowey starts fucking around with him. Flowey can kind of, but not really, control a little bit of Burgerpants. He's kind of attached to that soul, right? So he can kind of control Burgerpants a little bit, and he starts, like, mouthing back off in the mirror. And Burgerpants gets even more riled up over this. And then, Burgerpants decides to try the other jobs, try out what he can do as an earth elemental, and there's a lot of things that he can do, but not very much that his body is suitable towards. He is not the kind to be working outside, and at this point, moving boulders. He doesn't know what he can really do as an earth elemental yet, but that's pretty much what the consensus is at this point, is what can an earth elemental do? Well, you're good with rocks, so go clear some debris. And Burgerpants quits this. He's not moving up in the world right now. He needs to find some place else that he can be. So he goes back to Mettaton and pretty much begs him for any kind of work. He'll do whatever. He'll be his willing peon, just please. Please let me do some kind of work. Please, give me some kind of lifestyle, because I can't make it on my own. And we see that he's pretty good at manipulation, which is what I think got him the job in the first place, is he's pretty good at customer service / interpersonal manipulation. So Mettaton does ultimately decide to help him out a little bit, give him one last shot, right? One last shot. And, we know from the ending of Undertale what that exactly is. Mettaton has taken up this entertainer role, and, he is the entertainment from the underground while things are still getting rebuilt. The rebuilt part is but the entertainment part is definitely something that happened. He always wanted to, I guess, get in contact with Shiren, who is Shiren's sister? Because Mettaton somehow, someway, mostly through the entertainment industry, knew Shiren's sister, and Shiren's sister had fallen down, so he wants to get in contact with Shiren and help further her career a little bit. So he puts on this, like, little stage play, and that's what he allows Burgerpants to do. You wear concessions for a little while, and I'll give you a part in this play. You know, just a little bone to throw at him, because Mettaton doesn't really have this stone heart. He doesn't like Burgerpants, but he's not, like, a horrible person. Anyway, he has some common decency. So he gives Burgerpants, and I don't remember... I just started drawing this, and I don't remember what it was, if this was him eating a sandwich, or if this was, the cue card that he got with his role, and his role is just to be a bush in the background. But whatever it is, I think it was the second one, but I'll figure it out when I'm writing, whichever one's funnier. Whatever the case, he is completely dissatisfied with this, with the outcome, the fruits of his labors. He is completely distraught by this. And Flowey finds this absolutely hilarious. This is so amusing. That this guy pretty much broke his back for the whole day and gets nothing. The whole world trolls him, and that's just how this guy is. So Flowey starts seeing him less as pathetic and more as this comedic personality. He's starting to get really attached to his host and figuring out what his host thinks and feels, and he starts thinking and feeling. And again, kind of like let that sink in. They have opposite reactions. Burgerpants is absolutely distraught and miserable, so Flowey is elated and happy and having the time of his life. And that's when Flowey, at least in this panel, starts to think about his game plan. What can he do? He can divide this soul up into pieces. He can take over Burgerpants' body and become its new host. But in doing so, that pretty much kills off Burgerpants. So that's one thing to contend with. Or he can remain the essence, somehow get into contact with Burgerpants, and through Burgerpants, you get another host body, and in that host body, he can become a part of society again, but now with pretty much a tour guide, with somebody to introduce him as somebody else. So he can get his wish fulfilled by keeping this host body alive. And the second choice is pretty much what he ultimately goes with. He wants to try getting in contact with Burgerpants and integrating himself into society. So this is a selfish motivation. And then we see, the next morning, Burgerpants goes through his little routine. Not really the next morning, there's a lot of time skipping this, but the next, pivotal scene is Burgerpants talking to himself in the mirror. But instead of all the hate and vitriolic and you're a loser, you're pathetic, you're nobody, you need to become somebody, you need to show the world, instead of all that stuff, he starts complimenting himself about his humor and his sensibilities and how he has a great smile. And, you know, things aren't so bad. You're gonna do great out there. You're gonna show them. The world needs to see your talents.
And that's all just Flowey speaking out of his ass, trying to get Burgerpants to notice him. So then we have the next day, where Burgerpants goes to that job that Mettaton had given him, and he's the only one on concessions. So he's not really having a good time. He's all worn out by the time that the show starts, and he doesn't really have like a pivotal role or anything. He's just supposed to stand there as a prop. So that's what initially happens. But then, Flowey gives him a little bit of a boost, and, Burgerpants makes a little bit of a scene, because, at this point, Flowey has seen exactly what Mettaton has done to Burgerpants, and, even though it's not unfair, like, Mettaton was willing to throw a bone Burgerpants' way, but Flowey, he's bullying his host body, so he decides to, one-up Mettaton and kind of show off a little bit, using, Burgerpants as a medium. So, Burgerpants gets his time to shine, and this confuses the shit out of him. He has no idea why he keeps changing his behaviors. Like at the drop of a hat, it's not like him. It's not stuff that he would do. All of a sudden, he's like this different person, like another person is taking over, and he gets a little bit confused about that and starts getting that idea, which of course, that amuses Flowey to no end. And we get to this point where Flowey accumulates enough power that he is able to make his presence more known to Burgerpants. And the scene in which that happens is once again in the mirror. I mean, like maybe a week and a half go by, and Burgerpants is taking his medicine. But of course, that's not exactly what Flowey sees the situation as. Flowey thinks that Burgerpants is trying to get high. So he kind of interrupts him in the scene in the mirror, and pretty much everything's been happening in the mirror. It's about the easiest to use to communicate using that singular host body instead of like thoughts. It's the mirror, which is a little bit of a visual indicator as well. Right, the medicine was just hinting, foreshadowing to how the story is going to go. But then Flowey does get his attention and starts explaining his story, exactly what's happened, his backstory about being the young prince that had died about 100 years prior, and his story about how he became entrapped in this flower, and basically the story of Undertale, except Flowey leaves out a few details about what happened exactly. I mean, I'm sure Burgerpants knows some details about what happened. Everybody kind of knows what happened. But, you know, Flowey doesn't want to make himself look bad. No, of course not. And upon hearing that this is the young prince, there's only one thought that comes into Burgerpants' mind. That statue that was in the underground. And of course, what memories does he have with that statue, but with his friends going on a panty raid and decorating the statue? Which Flowey is not so amused by this. That's right, this whole statue thing gets brought up because Flowey is looking for a physical form. What form do you give the prince? Of course, it would be his memorial statue, but Flowey tells him he has a different picture in mind. He doesn't want to be known. He doesn't want his identity to be known. He doesn't even want to be a monster, because appearing as a monster means there are questions involved. The monsters were all banished underground. How is there this monster on the surface world, for one? And, he doesn't want his identity to be known at this point. He doesn't want anybody to know who he really is, so he kind of just wants to slip into society as easily as possible. So he wants a form, but he doesn't want it to be a monster form. He wants it to be human-like, with hands and feet specifically. So that's exactly what happens. The form being made of both a physical medium and magic Burgerpants conveniently being an earth elemental, so of course it is made out of clay. Except the Burgerpants isn't too artistic, so his human form leaves much to be desired. Flowey is not exactly very happy with it, but that is the form that we have made, and Flowey reluctantly decides that he is going to embody that form. Not immediately does this change shape. He does change shape from this clay form, but it's important to establish that we have this clay form first, and I want to say about one night passes, Flowey gains some more power through going off on his own in this form. Maybe it's more than a night, but anyway, there's a period of separation between Burgerpants and Flowey, where Flowey goes off, and he comes back, and of course, the form that he takes is a human form, which absolutely disturbs Burgerpants 100%. He can't get past this. This is just way too freaky. So now he has this human he has to take care of, and that's where we get into the rest of the story that I did not storyboard. So pretty much this is how it goes down. I guess we're going to be looking at butt the whole time. So I wish I would have spent more time on this, but it was really hard trying to make a human form, because you know, with monsters you can just kind of whatever, they're made of jello, I don't give a shit, but human form is a little bit harder. You gotta get those knees right, you gotta get everything all in place and everything. Anyway, I wouldn't have done this if I put any effort into the art, honestly. It's just whatever, you draw slanted lines, you draw weird proportions. I really don't give a shit. You can see Burgerpants' body. It's just like, I ran out of time. Oops. Anyway, so what happens is Monster Society is pretty close-knit one, and going off the rules of the underground, Burgerpants now has to introduce this human to Asgore, and there's a little bit of a worry behind that, because Asgore didn't treat the human kids very well, and we know that for sure. Flowey reassures him that this is a fine idea, and they do eventually go off to meet the king to introduce this human, which Burgerpants specifically does not call Flowey a human. He calls them a human-like monster, which is not a lie. That's the thing, is Burgerpants does not want to be caught in a lie. He doesn't want to be caught up in all this shit. And that brings us to the topic of names. There was this whole scene about the discussion of names and what Flowey should be called in this human-like form. I think what I settled on was just Bud. Another Let That Sink In reference. There's so many Let That Sink In references in here. This is not really a prequel, but you would think that it fits as one. It definitely does. It fits as like a fan-made prequel, not really my lore prequel. But it fits as one for sure. I think I settled on Bud, and that just came from Flowey being a flower, but it's also, you know, kind of what they have in common. Burgerpants usually calls people Buddy, so he would call the human Little Buddy, but Flowey doesn't want to be called Little Buddy. That's just what Burgerpants calls everybody else, and he doesn't want that name associated with them, so they settle on Bud. They go to Asgore, and Flowey is all chill to that point with all the other monsters that they have come into contact, but once they meet up with Asgore, that's when Flowey starts experiencing those difficult emotions in overtime. It was all fun and games until now, and as soon as he sees Asgore, he just breaks down crying, which of course Asgore sees as this scared human, afraid of this big bad monster, and they discuss one, how Burgerpants came across this human-like monster, and two, how this place isn't exactly safe for humans. We start getting that story in there, how Toriel is living on the outskirts, a little bit more into the countryside, away from the city, which has been poisoned by miasma. I don't want to get into the whole scope of everything that happened, but I'm just gonna say that it's not safe for humans. But it's alright. It's alright enough for monsters. But there's definitely a risk of disease, especially with the way that humans eat compared to how monsters do. And I do have that whole thing about food and water purification, how water magic users start purifying the water, and how earth elementals start purifying the land. And I have this whole thing about magic crops and how magic food develops. I need to find better English words for this stuff, but I'm basically I'm borrowing ideas from some Chinese literature. There are spiritual crops, there are ghost crops, and there are
physical crops, and physical crops are made with physical medium. Spiritual crops are made with spiritual seeds and spiritual water, and they're infused with spiritual power. And the purest of these spiritual crops that have like no physical attributes whatsoever, those are your ghost foods. So you have human food on one end of the spectrum, which is all physical, and ghost foods, which is the other opposite end of the spectrum, which is no physical, all spiritual. Anyway, so I go through this whole thing. They go meet up with Toriel on how to raise a human-like monster, and one of the first things that Flowey does when he sees Toriel is he runs up and hugs her and calls her mom. And then that's when Burgerpants has to awkwardly try to steer them out of this situation, because Toriel has a little bit of a glint of noticing exactly what's going on, but Burgerpants tries to talk them out of the situation, like, does she recognize her son even though he's in a different form? Anyway, so Burgerpants and Toriel pretty much have this discussion while Azriel and Frisk go play in the room, right? The humans are having a bonding time. Flowey gets to relive a bit of his childhood and is perfectly fine to get along with Frisk. So Toriel brings up this whole thing about how it's not safe for humans to live in the city, and how Burgerpants isn't even aware of all the stuff that humans have to go through, and it really would be best for everyone if Flowey were to remain here. And through this speech, she actually does convince Burgerpants, and Burgerpants ultimately makes that decision through her persuasion that this would be the best thing to do. So he pretty much, makes his final goodbyes and goes back to his apartment. Very melancholic, very sad, because it hasn't been that long that he's had time to spend with Flowey. He feels like he just started having a new chapter in his life, and all of a sudden it's gone. So he's feeling really sad, really distraught. He makes his way all the way back to the apartment, and that's when Flowey finds his way back. And Flowey talks about his own adventures and what happened, and how having a human form is exhausting and weird. So, whenever they're alone, pretty much, Azrael just goes back to his host. Not all the time, of course, but we do have him stepping out of that clay figure, because keeping this human form, this is a form of magic. This is soul power. This is the power to change forms. This isn't actually a human body. He's not possessing a human body. This is just a form that he is appearing as. So it takes up a lot of resources, and he pretty much, recharges. He uses Burgerpants to recharge. See, I wish I had drawn the rest of this, just so that I remember all the talking points, because I remember a million different details, but they're all mixed up and out of order and everything. I do know that, after this, they pretty much have, like, this routine. They kind of have a life together. Flowey has both fire elemental and plant nature, so he is very productive. Probably the breadwinner. Probably the breadwinner. I know that they do start a garden of spiritual crops, and that starts making a household for them. Oh, and yeah, they do get a better apartment. They get a better apartment closer to the outsides of the ruins eventually, because there is a human/human-like monster. They are awarded that pretty much just because Asgore has a soft side towards these humans, but specifically that one human that kind of reminds him of his son, And then what happens after that? There's so much shit that goes on. Off the top of my head, the most memorable scenes, let's see, they start this life together, but here's the thing, this child Azrael really does seem like a child, and like he'll hold Burgerpants' hand whenever they go out, and he's very excited to talk to people, very excitable and naive and happy to see these people. Easily gets distracted and goes off wherever. Oh, and of course, the new sensations that Flowey's going through, being a human, because not only is this a body that he hasn't had a body in quite a while, right? It's just been this flower, so he has a moving body, so he can run and jump and have fun, like, freely moving. But not only that, there are these new sensations, like, eating human food, which Flowey's not very happy with. And then also, holding hands, that's another thing, is the tactile sensation of fur as felt through human hands. And, like, he'll latch onto Burgerpants and, like, pat him. I don't want it to sound, like, weird. It's not weird, but, just, like, pet his fur. So these very, like, inquisitive, childlike qualities. And, that starts to rub Flowey the wrong way, because he's starting to be seen as a child, and he wants to make it clear that he is not a child whatsoever. So after a little bit more, gaining power, into a bit of an argument about how childish Flowey is being. That's when Flowey finally decides to show his true form, it's pretty much the hyper death form, and he uses a little bit of intimidation tactics on Burgerpants in this really funny scene. Should I get into that? I might not get into everything. I might just no, I don't want a storyboard. Like, it didn't take very long, but I didn't like drawing. I hate drawing. I absolutely detest drawing. Everything here pretty much makes me cringe, except for like a couple Burgerpants pieces that make me laugh. But I hate everything that I've done. So I don't really want to draw anymore. It would be best to organize my thoughts, but right now I kind of don't have thoughts because I'm very hungry. And the recording got stopped earlier, so I still haven't eaten, and I don't feel like getting into everything with so many missing details. But anyway, there's pretty much this new lifestyle between the two of them, and yeah, I should just skip to the ending. Should I skip to the ending? See, that's another thing, is I don't really want to get into the ending, because this is a tragedy. Spoilers, it's a tragedy. How it ends is how I thought of this story in the first place. It is, Burgerpants hasn't had a great life, right? He had an abusive dad who may or may not have had a hand in his mom dying. And he is very resentful towards all of that, his upbringing, and he is determined to make it on his own, determined to make somebody of himself. Except he's not doing so well. He is one of the monsters that is, like the line from Undertale where Burgerpants talks about being 19 and already wasted his whole life. That's pretty much literally, he is on a very short time frame. He has an illness that he has to contend with, and it is kind of exacerbated by this soul dilemma about how his soul power has been siphoned off by Flowey. Unfortunately, not only does Burgerpants get the time of his life and a true companion, and eventually a love, but this has cost him significantly, and those start taking effects, and Burgerpants is very eager to hide everything that's going on. He doesn't talk about his medicine, so Flowey doesn't really know what's going on. Flowey just thinks that he's taking drugs, because Flowey is a little bit naive. That's the one thing I want to shine in this story. Yeah, he's a big, edgy, emo kid, but he really is naive. He only has seen the world from an outsider's point of view. He's never, gotten to have these experiences and these emotions that everyone else has. So he's a bit of a cynic, you know, he's a bit jaded to everything that's going on. He starts experiencing these things for the first time in his life, really, and he's so overwhelmed and overjoyed, and everything brings him happiness. He just can't really see the truth of what's happening. And again, Burgerpants is very crafty. He's definitely hiding what's going on. And one time, when Flowey is out, a monster has fallen, and of course that monster is Burgerpants. And his closest friends decide to go into the apartment and collect his belongings. And throughout this whole thing, I have like, oh god, I have so much stuff that I have not talked about, but throughout this whole thing, Burgerpants is very minimalist. He doesn't want to keep very much. He's not the type to collect things, unlike Let That Sink In. He is the type to only use what he needs to get by in life. He's more focused on the stuff that he's doing and not the stuff that he can collect. So he's lived very, very minimalist. The only thing that he does have is this clay statue. So they find this clay statue, and that is what they ultimately decide to sprinkle his dust on. So Asriel has taken back the form of this clay statue that the dust gets sprinkled on, and Flowey takes this essence and thinks over his life, the short time that they had together, about how sad this all feels, and how he doesn't even know if he would go through this all again, if he knew just how sad that he was going to be, losing a loved one like this. And he contemplates life and what it's all for, and oh yeah, I did have the thing where he does have this moment where he contemplates taking the dust and reviving through desperation, of course, reviving Burgerpants through that dust. But then he thinks about everything that has happened to him, and is it better to do without a loved one? Like the pet cemetery situation, that's the only thing that I can compare to in English. Is it better to do without and move on, or have a loved one that is not themselves? Because he could potentially revive Burgerpants through his essence, but it wouldn't be him. It's the soul that's already scattered, you know? It would be him, but soulless. And Flowey has gone through a period of being a soulless husk, and ultimately that is not what he decides. He hopes and dreams that sometime in the next life they meet up again. They're pretty much fated to, because now Asriel has this essence, so he knows that in whatever next life, whatever they next cross paths, they're destined to be with one another, and that's pretty much how the story ends. Is Flowey as a flower on Burgerpants' grave, and that's where I got the working title from, which is also not a lyric from the song, but it kind of sounds like a lyric from the song, and that's how I got that. Again, I'm missing so many details, but I have not organized my thoughts. It's all just, like, I'll just think of dialogue that happens on the spot, like this person talking to this person talking to that person, which is a little bit more involved because I have a lot more, NPCs interacting in the story, and I gotta get into character and all this. I don't even fucking know what Blue Ears looks like, and I drew him once. I think once I've drawn him. I've drawn him one time, but I don't fucking remember what he looks like. I know he's just a vaguely rabbit, and he has, excitable ears. They're up or down, but that's about it. I think this is long enough. I think that's enough to document my thoughts. That's not all my thoughts, but I'll have to do something. I'll have to do something with this. But for now, that's what I have. And I don't think I'm I don't think I'm going to show this to anyone. But in case I do, thank you for watching. And I'm sorry about the horrible art quality. And I'm sorry about how jumbled up a mess this was. But thank you so much for listening, for your patience, for your understanding. And I hope you have a good day. Bye bye.